Hello YouTube, and welcome to our fourth installment of our Realism Overhaul series. Today's mission, get to orbit. First things first, we need to unlock early orbital rocketry. And now that that's unlocked, we'll take a look at what technology we can buy in this group. So I'm definitely going to get the AJ-10 upper stage. And I think for a lower stage I'm going to go with the RD-103, that's a Soviet engine. There's also the Redstone engine, that's an option, but the RD-103 has a higher thrust, so I think I'm going to go with that one for now. We might unlock that one later, just to play around with it as well. I think for now I'm going to stick with these two things, and let's start building a rocket with them. Now I'm going to start by loading up our previous beta craft, and I'm going to rename it to Charlie. I know I'm switching between the Greek alphabet and the phonetic alphabet here, but what can you do? So we're going to take a look at our Aerobee engine, open up the GUI, and take a look at these different engine configurations. We have the XASR1, which is more efficient than the AJ-1027, so let's kind of take a look at how much thrust that'll give us. This guy has a burn time of 1 minute and 5 seconds, so let's change the fuel in the tank to get the right mixture and rescale the tank accordingly. Alright, that gets us a total delta V for this stage of 3179 meters per second. So let's see what we can actually do with the AJ-10 engine. Now this guy actually has a longer burn time, and even though it's slightly less efficient, the fact that it's producing twice as much thrust for a longer time means that we should get a higher delta V. Now if you'll notice, I actually made a mistake that cost me about 10 meters per second in delta V, so if you can figure out what it is, put it in the comments and I'll let you know if you're right. Now we're going to do the same upgrade with our lower 4 Aerobee engines. We're going to switch our RCS thrusters from nitrogen to nitrous oxide. That has about 3 times the efficiency. And throw on an AJ-10 for a second stage. This guy has a burn time of 1 minute and 55 seconds. And I'm actually going to use some of those RCS thrusters as Ullage thrusters on the bottom. We'll throw on an aerodynamic coupler. And now we're going to replace this A4 engine with our new RD-103. The RD-103 has a burn time of 1 minute and 52 seconds. So now we're going to play around with our tank and try to see what looks good. We're going to throw on another section on the bottom just to make it a little bit more aerodynamic. Alright, I noticed that our upper stage is okay on the mass limitation, but our lower stage needs some more guidance units, so we'll go ahead and throw one in there. And now I'm going to adjust the height of the aerodynamic fairing. Make it look nice and flush. Strap on the launch stability enhancers, and let's bring the rocket back down to where it should be. And we'll do our final staging adjustments. One thing I forgot to do was go ahead and add a decoupler between our secondary engine and our final spin stabilization motors. Alright, everything looks good to go. Let's launch it. Alright, the plan for this is to head up till we hit around 100 meters per second, and then we'll start our gravity turn maneuver. There's a good view of the rocket and the moon. Second stage separation, and taking a look at our engine, the fuel state is still unstable. I'm hoping that we have enough RCS fuel. Alright, there we go. Alright, we just had our secondary engine cut out way too early, so this is definitely going to affect us. But we'll at least see how far we can get this rocket to go. We have a slight wobble, but I think that's well within our limits. We're definitely going to get a new altitude record, and we're going to be able to collect some science as we fly over Africa. This should be a quick burn up in the atmosphere since we're going so quickly. Alright, since we unlocked some new science, I think we'll use that to unlock basic orbital rocketry. That'll give us some more rocket engines to play with. Alright, so I felt like this Charlie aircraft was pretty close to being able to doing it, other than the fact that our second stage burned out too soon. So we'll go ahead and rebuild this and give it another shot. This time we're going to remember to select a contract. We got to 1.5 million meters, so getting this one should be pretty easy. Alright, same thing as before. We'll start pitching over a little bit earlier, maybe 80 meters per second. We had a really hard time getting that secondary engine to start before, so I'm actually going to try to fire it off slightly early before we separate. And it looks like that might have been a bad idea. Having that rocket engine in there made us really unstable, so we ended up doing a backflip. Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about this one. Our apoapsis looks really low still. We'll see what we can do by pitching up before we fire our spin stabilization motors. Maybe it can arrest our fall. Yeah, we're still falling pretty quick, and we're really low. I think we're going to start to burn up pretty soon. And sure enough, we weren't even going fast enough to destroy our telemetry unit. Alright, let's give this rocket one more shot. Alright, pitch over around 100 meters per second. And we'll try not to be so aggressive that we get such a low apoapsis this time. Now, I didn't like what happened whenever we fired our secondary engine early, so I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to rely on those Ullage thrusters that we put at the bottom to get our fuel to settle in the bottom of the tank. Ooh, we're still flipping around, so that's not good. Hopefully we have enough nitrous oxide to realign ourselves. Alright, that was close. At least this time we have a higher apoapsis than before. We'll go ahead and see if we can boost it up even higher. I don't think we're going to be able to get it up high enough for us to actually circularize our orbit. Got to get it above 140 at least. Well, we'll at least see what we can do. We're at least starting to arrest our fall now. The vertical speed is increasing, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough. It's decreasing again now that we lost all that thrust at that third stage. Alright, expect to see more flames as we destroy ourselves in the atmosphere. Alright, let's head back to the drawing board. I think if we put those thrusters towards the bottom, we'll have more control over the aircraft to keep it stable longer, but that'll mean that we don't need that decoupler anymore. Also, these ullage thrusters don't seem to be very strong, so I'm going to just put some separation motors down there. Adjust their burn time so they burn for a few seconds. And again, adjust your staging. Alright, we'll call this guy the Charlie B, and let's give him a shot. Alright, we still got that altitude contract we gotta get. Pitched over a little late on this one, but I do want to make sure that we get a higher apoapsis than before. Alright, main engine cut out. Now the tricky part of this is trying to figure out what our final launch angle is going to be. If it's too shallow, we're just going to fall right back down to Earth. But if it's too steep, we'll get a higher apoapsis, but not be able to circularize. If we had some sort of guidance unit on the tip of the craft, then we could steer as we follow the curvature of the Earth, but we don't, and honestly half our delta V is coming from those last two stages that we have no control over. So fine-tuning that final angle is going to be key. This guy is looking pretty good. I feel like we actually might have a shot with this one. We're falling a little bit, but it might still be okay. Oh, that's gonna screw us up. Alright, well, maybe we'll just go for a speed record. Alright, that last flight seemed probably to be the most promising, but we only have a few more weeks to finish out this altitude contract. So I think I'm going to go back to our Alpha Craft series, and I'm going to swap out the engines to our new AJ-10 Araby engine. So the first thing to do is adjust the tank size so we have a burn time of a minute and 10 seconds. We'll call this the Alpha C, and we'll launch. Alright, looking pretty good. These tanks are a lot bigger. You know why? Because we didn't rebalance our mixture. This is the mixture for the WAC Corporal engine. So I say we fire the engineers. Alright, let's go back in. Sure enough, let's adjust our tanks. Alright, that's a lot better. So let's try launching this guy. Alright, looking better. Have a higher apoapsis. And engine cut out. Okay, I guess that's what happens whenever you test new equipment. We only have, I think, 22 days before this contract expires, so we either need to fix this or find another plan. Things that used to be routine are now seeming to be increasingly difficult. Alright, so we'll relaunch this guy, and hopefully we don't get a burnout like we did last time. And our burn time. This engine's only rated for a minute and 10 seconds, and the pad we had about a minute 50 seconds. So sure enough, whenever we rebalance the fuel in our tank, we forgot to resize the tank to make sure that we still had a minute 10-second burn time. So I'm pretty sure we're going to run into the same issue here. Yep, sure enough. Once again, I think we should fire the engineers. Alright, back to the drawing board one more time. Let's reduce the size of this. Now we got a minute and 10 seconds. That's just our solid rocket booster. Call this the Alpha D. And this is our last shot. I think we have about 4 days before that contract expires. We start off a little crooked, but I think we should be alright. Alright, looks like we can breathe a sigh of relief. We may have lost our little fins, but apoapsis of over 500 kilometers. I think we just barely made that contract. We still haven't gotten to orbit, but we'll have to see what we can do about that in our next series. I have a few ideas that I might try, and that last design looked pretty promising. But until then, we'll see you next time.